Hello, welcome to this episode. Today we're speaking with Renae about skincare, and she is a skincare specialist. We spoke a lot about kind of a holistic approach to your skincare. She uses some incredible techniques in her clinic, which I think you'll be fascinated by once you tune in. We talked a lot about chemicals in our makeup and our skincare because we both had negative experiences with that. That's not to say that you need to cut them out right away or anything like that, but I do think it is good to know and a good discussion to have. So that's why we did have it. I do hope you enjoy this episode and let me know what you think at the end. Okay, welcome. Hi, Renae. So excited to have you here. Talk everything skincare and your story and why it's so freaking important to not put chemicals on your skin. Diving right into that.
Yes, yes, you're speaking my language, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm so glad we connected and over that too. And it was so instant. But
Yeah.
yeah, so glad you're here. Of course, I always like to just go right into it and I like to just see what you're up to right now, like what are you doing in your life and your business.
Yeah, well, just back from holidays with hubby, which was lovely,
So
visiting
good.
family in Adelaide. So feeling quite refreshed today. So a good day to have my face on the camera. And actually super excited for what's coming up in my business as well, because I'm working with you on my project to upgrade my website booking system and everything, and super excited about that. Just a great platform to be able to next level my business
Mm-hmm.
and really round out the client experience. So I like to think I do a pretty good job in salon with the client experience. It's the techie follow-up stuff that I haven't had or haven't got my shit in a sock with yet. So
It's a good
really
expression.
excited to yeah. So really excited for that. Was working a little bit on that before we jumped on our call actually. So that is probably the thing that I'm most excited about in my business, because it's just going to help, that follow up. You and I have spoken about it 1,000 times before. It's 80% what the clients are doing at home and 20% what I can do in salon to support and boost those efforts,
Mm-hmm.
give them the guidance, the understanding as to what's working, what's not working for their skin, as opposed to relying 100% wholly on what's going on here. So having that website booking system, all of the email flows and everything in place that support me to help deliver that message. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
everything that can remind us clients that, we're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about my skincare. Thanks, Renae, for reminding me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, pretty much.
Yeah, I love it. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you do specifically in salon? Because it is so different than what other people do. And I've been so lucky to do two of your SQT microneedlings, and my face looks amazing. And like you said, I haven't had to do as much now at all since I've done a couple sessions with you, and it's just like amazing for your
Yeah.
skin. So yeah, if you want
So
to talk about it.
yeah, well, I might actually wind the clock back a little bit to about just over 3 years ago. Before I started my business, I actually
Yeah.
had to have a basal cell carcinoma, so a form of skin cancer, and a cyst cut out of my face.
Mm.
So I actually do have two very faint scars. One's in my smile line down the left-hand side of my face, and another one just under my left nostril. And that's actually how I got into the microcurrent facial rejuvenation. I sort of fell across it through Instagram. There was a woman in Perth that I knew that was doing that treatment. And to date, at that point in time, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not ready to start investing in my skin at that level yet. But then the week of my surgery, which I was shitting myself about, because they were slicing my face open while I was just under a local, like just with local anesthetic. So I was wide
Oh
awake
God.
and they're like
Yeah.
slicing my face. And I was like, please just knock me out. Like, I don't want to feel it. I don't want to hear it. Um, so yeah, I was quite anxious about it. And Vicky put this post up and it just made me think, I wonder if that will help the healing process of the surgical wound. So I reached out to her through Instagram, and she was like, there's actually a scar healing protocol. And I was like, fuck yes, take all my money. When can I come and see you? So 2.5 weeks after the surgery, I still couldn't smile or laugh without being in excruciating pain because of having to take like muscle tissue to ensure they got the entire basal cell carcinoma or BCC. Had my first treatment with her, got up, was chatting to her after the treatment. She said something that made me laugh, and I stopped mid laugh and just looked at her in shock. And she's like, oh my God, what's wrong? I'm like, that didn't hurt. Like that one treatment and the pain was gone. And I was like, when can I come back? So I ended up doing 6 treatments over about 8 to 9 weeks. And my before and after photos, like lifting the jawline, opening up the eyes, my eyebrows, which I had never noticed because I never spent any time looking at myself in the mirror because I just, like most women, didn't want to confront what was staring back at me. Didn't realize my eyebrows were lopsided. But after 6 treatments, they were even. And I was like, what the actual, like, how does this like wizardry even work? So after sending my mum off for a few treatments as a Mother's Day gift and continuing to get monthly maintenance sessions after that, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to invest and I'm going to start a business because this is like gold dust. I can't believe the world doesn't know about it, especially when there's like a Botox clinic on or an injectables clinic on every corner in the city. And
that's the go-to.
That was never, yeah, and that was never something like I just, for me, like no judgment on anyone that does go down that path because we all have our own journey. And some of my clients get injectables and that's, you know, that's their journey. But for me, it was just never an option. I've got a couple of autoimmune diseases. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to be injecting a toxin into my face because one, I don't want to be that 0.01% where my face collapses or something goes wrong. But two, I'm not prepared to risk flaring up autoimmune conditions that I have managed to keep under control and even put into remission through lifestyle choices, and I'm not medicated for either of them. So for me, it's just a choice. And so, yeah, that was basically where Glow Younger came to be about. And that was launched in September 2021.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah,
right,
so
you know, right in the middle of COVID, who launches a face to face in your face business?
The brave does.
So yeah, that's kind of how my business came about. And it's then just been a constant journey of education since then, learning more around the science of skin health. And I've added more treatments onto my service menu since then, but they are all really low tox, really non-invasive, working with the body's natural energy and healing systems rather than traumatizing the body to get it to heal.
Yeah. What did you do before all of this? What was your job?
Some years ago, I did actually have a handmade natural skincare range that I was making at home and selling at markets and that sort of thing. I closed that down in the May shortly after COVID hit because obviously markets weren't happening and all of that sort of thing. And I had also undergone quite a hectic health journey during the time that I had that business as well. That's when I first had a flare up of Hashimoto's, and like it was hard just making the products, going to markets, trying to do all of the things.
Before that, were you in corporate or anything?
Yeah, so the most part of my working life has been in commercial and designer furniture. Would you believe?
That's so interesting. I could see it though, the design and everything. Okay. Interesting. So what were you doing there exactly?
Sales and business development.
Okay. Do you feel like a lot of stress came from that, or was it when you started the skincare business?
How I actually got out of that that industry. In my early to mid 30s, and had a gap year working with a mate in his restaurant in the city, just living fun life, because
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't loving the energy of being in that corporate environment. I was mostly dealing with interior designers, architects, builders, project managers, so quite a heavily male dominated client base. Wasn't loving the energy. And from working in my friend's restaurant, I ended up landing a job running a local not-for-profit for a few years, 3 years or so, and left that because I'd been doing my business as a side hustle for the last sort of 18 months of that, and it had gotten to the point where I could walk away and do that solely. But yeah, then actually what flared up my autoimmune condition in the beginning was actually having the Mirena IUD removed.
Oh, wow.
And just totally messing up my hormones. And
Having it
yeah, that was,
removed, that ended,
yeah,
not putting it
yeah,
in. Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
So not only did it mask the signs and symptoms of endometriosis, so I didn't realize that that was an issue for me. Um, it, yeah, once I had it removed, my body just didn't, because it adds a slight amount of progesterone to your system. I had the Mirena that has the slow release progesterone. My body just didn't start producing enough, and I ended up with estrogen overload, and my body just went, like, within 3 months. I was having these ridiculous panic attacks where I was in the fetal position in my office at home, looking like just so fatigued and exhausted after 16 hours sleep, and just going, I don't even know my own name today. So I'd had this panic attack, and I just crawl back to bed and sleep for another 10 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
what happened to be able to like move through that? What did you find?
so I was very fortunate. I've heard so many horror stories from women who have taken years to get diagnosis of Hashimoto's before they've been able to get it under control.
Mm-hmm.
I got a diagnosis within about 4.5 months. So yeah, four to 4.5 months in, when I was just at rock bottom. Just so happened to go to a doctor, a GP that specializes in thyroid conditions. Just by
That's
fluke, really. My
rare,
mum
it
was like,
seems like. Yeah.
I know, like, so lucky. And yeah, she was like, asked me, I think, 4 questions when I first sat in her consulting room. And she just turned around and said, given the answers to those questions, I'd put money on you having a thyroid condition.
Mm.
And so she sent me off for the blood test, and lo and behold, came back with a Hashimoto's diagnosis. And so I was medicated for about 15 months. And about 12 months in, the doctor that doubled my medication, and I ended up bedridden.
Mm.
Literally, like, I was picking up a plastic cup of water, like, I couldn't drink out of glass because I was terrified that I'd drop it because I couldn't clench a fist.
Oh,
My
wow.
body just ached so painfully from head to toe. I couldn't get out of bed. And my husband and I had a conversation, and I said, look, the only thing I've changed is my medication. He's like, yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. So I went back to my original dose, and within 3 days was fine again. Well, not fine. My hands ached and had started aching within a few months of starting the medication initially, but because of the conditioning we have from society and the community we live in, I was turning 40 that year, and in my head, I was like, well, we've got arthritis in the family. I'm getting older. I'm turning 40 soon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, my hands are sore because I'm getting old. And then when my doctor doubled my medication, I was like, hang on a second. Is there just going to be another medication in my future to mask what's going on with the aching hands? And if I stay on the medication, is the aching hands going to slowly progress to being these all over body aches? So I
Yeah, that's a scary
That,
thought. Yeah.
yeah,
So where can we
yeah,
backpedal?
yeah. So I
Mm.
just sat down once again with my husband. I said, by 30th of June this year, I will be off the medication. I'd done enough research to know that the common line that we get sprouted by the general practitioners around is you'll be medicated for life. I've done enough research through alternative sources to know there were enough people out there that have had reversed the effects of Hashimoto's.
Yeah. Was it
So
with you we were talking about Wellness Mama? No, it wasn't.
no,
Yeah, she's one like in America that reversed it and very like out there about it.
yeah,
So I'm like, I always just hope like if someone has Hashimoto's that they stumble across these people. Because yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
how I actually a lot of the work that I did through a woman in the US who calls herself the thyroid pharmacist.
Mm,
She is actually a pharmaceutical doctor who truly believes that if you catch Hashimoto's quickly enough, that you can be reverse the symptoms and live unmedicated.
hmm.
So
Yeah. It's really interesting. I had someone on actually recently as well. She's a different thyroid condition, but yeah, she reversed it a lot with like emotional healing and all of that. And there's so many different ways to do it and all the avenues. Just definitely go down all the avenues and work through it, and then you can process it. Yeah. See, you have to just see the evidence. So, like you're saying, I had the same beliefs that like, I'm turning older. This is why my body hurts or that. And like I was giving up when I was like 28.
yeah,
Yeah. And I was like, that's just conditioning it. Eventually start to realize like you don't have to live that way. That's not the truth, ultimate truth. So
it's
I'm
crazy.
yeah.
It is, and bless my mum, I love it a bit, but not even 4 weeks ago, I had a conversation with her where she's like, I don't believe that the body can heal itself, and I'm like,
Are you not enough proof? Oh no. Yeah.
Mom, okay, just your journey is different to mine. I'm just gonna take a step back.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's like wow, we all see the world in a different model, but yeah,
Mm.
it makes me sad. I'm like, can I just show you all of these examples?
Yeah.
But yeah. And
But
then do
then,
you feel like it then tied like the Hashimoto's and everything? So you're healing that with um what did you end up using or
well,
approaching?
I did a couple of cleanses in that from the sort of March through to the June, where I just was really letting my body heal, letting it, cutting back on all of the rubbish. I was very, very strict gluten and dairy free and soy free. And that, the gluten and dairy was like my body, before I was even diagnosed, my body was repulsed by it. My husband would be like, "Oh, what do you want for dinner tonight, babe?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. What do you think?" He'd go, "How about we have homemade burgers?" And I'd like pretty much just like vomit in my mouth and be like, "No, you do that. I'm going to have a salad." Like my body rejected bread, it rejected dairy. I'd been off most dairy for about 20 years anyway, but I I just it was incredible. I was like, I'm listening to my body. Like the fact that I feel like I'm going to vomit in my own mouth when you mention those foods, that's a clear sign that my body doesn't want them.
Yeah, it's so
So by the time
important.
yeah, and by the time I went to the GP and she diagnosed me, she was like, "Oh, so you need to go off this." I'm like, "Well, I'm already off those things." Um, and she kind of looked at me funny, and I'm like, "Well, the thought of it made me feel sick. Like my body rejected it, so of course I'm going to go off it." And she kind of just went, "Oh, that's interesting." And the other interesting conversation I had with her is, I was like, "I'm not okay. Like I'm tired. I'm having panic attacks, and like my head's fuzzy. I can't think straight. Something's wrong with my body." And she just looked at me and she goes, like, "You're talking sort of mental health kind of symptoms, but you're telling me something's wrong with your body." And I'm like, "Yep."
Mhm.
She goes, "That's really interesting. You're probably right." And I went, but that's like intuitively, that's just what I felt. I was like, something's wrong, but it's not like I'm not. depressed. I'm not like I love my life. I've got everything to live for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was an absolute game changer. Like my husband saw one of the panic attacks and it terrified him. He's FIFO, so he's not home a lot. And I had one panic attack while he was home, and he was just holding me in his arms, just going, what can I do? How do I help you? And I'm like, get me a fucking gun. I can't deal with this anymore. Like if somebody had given me a way out, I think I had about 6 panic attacks over the course of about 8 weeks. And if somebody had given me a way out on any one of those 6 occasions, I would have taken it.
Oh my God.
I was like, and like I look back now and I think, holy shit, how many people are out there dealing with those kind of symptoms because of a root cause illness that's not being diagnosed? And I think of all of those women that are taking 10 years to get diagnosed for Hashimoto's as just one example. I'm like, it terrifies me.
Yeah, me too. I can't imagine. And like just feeling that all the time. And like I'm
Yeah,
surprised they're continuing on. Like women are so strong. We just like,
yeah,
oh, it's okay. We'll go, you keep going. But like
yeah,
why?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And look, I did need medication to get back on an even keel. I couldn't cope the way that I was going. So I was medicated for about 15 months, and that I've been off the medication for, it'll be 5 years this June.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so now whenever a doctor's when I got their endometriosis diagnosis, they're like, oh, so these are the 3 options for treatment. One's painkillers daily, the other's the Mirena IUD. And I was like, well, that's a hard no for me, given that having that removed the first time was kind of the trigger for the Hashimoto's. Obviously, not every woman that has a Mirena removed is going to get Hashimoto's. You've got to be predisposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, that's not going to happen. And then the third was surgery. And I'm like, well, you're telling me they're microscopic lesions. Like, how are you going to surgically remove those? Like, no.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And just, yeah, like, do you feel like the stress played a big role as well that you were going through?
Yeah, yeah. Like life, I mean, for the most part, I have a pretty good, like, pretty stress-free life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I was very fortunate to be taught about meditation all the way back in high school. So for a good 30 years, have had the tool of meditation in my tool belt. Not always used it religiously, but I've always known that it's there as a backup when I've needed it. So I feel very grateful for that.
What do you
And,
think made you open to going down like more of an alternative route, like when you were first, everything started to emerge?
I just don't believe that we have to be medicated for life.
Yeah.
It's just an internal knowing. I can't explain it because even members of my family don't have that same feeling. It's not like I was raised in an environment where we were like a clean household, organic foods, all of that sort of thing. I mean, we certainly had a very decent diet compared to the average Western diet, but like I'm the one having conversations with my parents about, can't we get rid of the artificial plants that are putting VOCs into the atmosphere in your home and replace them with real living plants that are actually going to clean the air and make it a healthier place for you to be breathing? And they're like, what are you talking about? And then, like I'll stay at my mum's house and there'll be one of those little oil reed diffusers in the bedroom that I stay in. And within 10 minutes of walking in there, I've got a headache. And I'm like, Mum, what is this secondhand smoke doing
I feel
in my
that.
fucking sleeping space? Like, I
Yeah.
have to breathe that and wake up feeling good tomorrow.
Yeah, my face goes red from them. I'm like, what? I'm not allergic to anything. It's just that, ugh, so bad.
Oh, I just get a headache. I can't deal. I mean, one of the funniest conversations I've ever seen play out is my husband, who was just my boyfriend at the time when we were first looking to move in together and getting everything sorted. And him and his housemate were dividing up like all the household like things that they'd kind of, one time somebody buys the tomato sauce and somebody else buys the cleaning products and all of that. And his housemate's like, oh, here's some cleaning products for you to take, because my husband was moving in with me to renovate the house that we now live in. And he just looked at his housemate. He was like, they won't get through the front gate, mate. You take them. Or better yet, throw them out and replace them with decent stuff. And I was like,
don't use them
yeah,
yourself either.
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Well, that's good. He learned.
He's like, they're not even going to make it through the front gate. You just take them. I was like, yes, good boy, good boy.
Love that. Yeah, I had to decondition my partner too. and like for a while you're just nagging, but you're like, literally, that will kill you, that will kill you, that will kill you. Yeah, this is what you need to do now. And oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's when we've met, when I just first started making my own products before I even started selling them. Like I was making them for me, and he'd come over and I'd have a big pot on the stove making something, and he'd be like, oh, we've got our witch going on tonight, have we? And I'd be like, yep, you got a problem with that? And he's like, no, you're just like no other woman I've ever dated.
Oh, that's so nice though. Do you feel like the witchiness has gotten worse or like more extensive?
um, well, no, I don't think so, because
Just curious.
um well, I don't know, maybe it's just so normal for me now. I don't see how nuts it is to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. We acclimatize. Everyone just has to stand back and take it.
Yeah.
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 I love that.
And also my husband's so on the same page with me now. It's like he makes me laugh on the regular, because like he'll say to me, I very rarely wear makeup, and when I do, like the first time I wore makeup after we'd been living together for a while, and I don't know, we were going out for dinner or something, and I put a really bright lipstick on, he's just looked at me and he's like, oh, so we've got our clown face on tonight, have we? And I've just laughed and I'm like, yep, got a problem with it? And he's like, no, but you do look beautiful without it. And I'm like, that's really sweet, thanks, babe. But so many women go, oh my God, how could he call you, like, how could he say that to you, a clown face? And I'm like, it's because he loves me without it. Like I took it as a compliment.
That's huge. Yeah. Well, most
Yeah.
people don't experience that because they don't approach it with such like openness, like relationship or anything.
Yeah.
Your most vulnerable self first. Yeah. Then reversing after like, constantly having a makeup on, I feel like that would be even harder. Or like having that
Yeah.
really heavy makeup on, especially. I'm like, oh, imagine taking that off for the first time.
Mm. Well, I remember my brother saying to me many, many, many years ago, when I would have been in my early 20s, possibly even in my late teens, and he's like, one of his mates was dating this girl who always wore a full face of makeup, and they were going to, or they'd been to like a formal event. And I was like, oh, what did all the girls wear and what did they look like? And one, he's a boy, so he didn't really, but he goes, oh, yeah, all the girls look nice, though such and such didn't really look any different from every day because she always wears a full face of makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's interesting.
Nice too. It's interesting they notice it too. Like boys notice it. Even like back in the day they did. And I was like, so you notice it. So but why are we doing it so extensively still? Like, I don't know, it's just so noticeable. Why live that way?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I suppose some women do it for themselves. My biggest passion with my business is that women feel confident enough to not have to cover up.
Yeah. And so this actually brings us back to the chemicals though. Like there's so many chemicals in the makeup. That is actually my bigger worry for everyone else. Like you're doing that every day. Like I think even if you use the really chemical laden makeup occasionally, like your body gets a chance to recover. Like you're saying, your body can heal. Like so but if you're like hitting it every single day, that scares the crap out of me. Like you can't process it out of your body. It's just always there.
And it's cumulative, especially if
Yeah,
it's, on the heavy metal side of the
all of them are.
toxins.
Yeah.
Um, I know years ago when I had my skincare business, the first one, and I was, doing the research a lot. And at that time, probably talking 8 years ago, the statistic was on average, women are exposed to 130 odd chemicals before they even leave their house every morning. So that's from the cleaning products that they're using in their home, the skincare they're like cleansing with, the soaps, the makeups, the everything else, whatever,
Hairspray.
everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like hair care products, the whole lot, like all of it. And like that's huge. Like 130 different toxic chemicals
Yeah, it's just in the morning.
before you leave your home.
Yeah. It's
And you're
wild.
out breathing in exhaust fumes and sitting in an air conditioned office for 9 hours, breathing in recycled air. And I just, and also some of those chemicals, it's less than 26 seconds before they're in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And, at least if you're consuming them in your food, as scary as this thought sounds, if you're consuming them in your food, it's going through your digestive system, which is designed to remove the toxic shit. If it's going straight into your bloodstream through your hands or on your face via your skin, where do those toxins end up? In your brain, in your heart, in your lungs, in your vital organs, before they get a chance to be targeted for removal.
Yeah. It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what could we do instead in your thoughts?
Well, I always say to clients, I don't have any skincare close at hand, but the packaging on any skincare is designed to sell to you. It is part of the marketing campaign of any business. So what you see on the front of the label, on the shelf at Mecca, Sephora, your pharmacy, Kmart, Coles, wherever you buy your skincare and makeup and body care products, that shit on the front is designed to sell to you. Flip it over and read the information on the back, i.e. the ingredients.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of apps around that will, in a heartbeat, tell you what of those ingredients are suspect.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do. I look like that crazy person scanning everything. When you
Yeah.
can't get to like a health food store or find your own products that you already know, I'm just there like like I've literally been there like an hour trying to find the right soap. I'm like, just what? Yeah.
Well, when I started my gluten-free journey, it was shortly after that Vegemite was released as a gluten-free option. And I was
Mm-hmm.
excited. I'm an Aussie kid. I grew up having Vegemite as probably the very first solid foods, like Vegemite on bread or Vegemite on toast is one of the very first solid foods I was probably offered as a small child. And I'm like, fuck yeah, Vegemite. Looked at the ingredients and saw that the two colouring agents in it, that I think they're E numbers, um, are forbidden for use in foods for infants in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not adults. Love that.
Mm. I'm like, and
Wild.
yes, and they get away with it because the marketing's not targeted as an infant food, it's to older children.
Yeah. And how annoying is that? Because normal Vegemite is just like yeast, is it not? So like that's actually
Well, but
a
it still
decent
does
ingredient.
have those two food coloring
Oh,
agents
and
in
the
it.
original one. But yeah,
Yeah,
like back in the day they didn't, and now they're just adding more things to it, which is like,
yeah.
why?
So the very original Vegemite wouldn't have had all of those things in it.
Yeah. Better off
Mm.
making your own if you can. You probably can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm getting to the point where I'm even gonna mill my own grain. I'm seriously on that level now. There's just so much stuff in there. They just keep adding more and more.
Like
Yeah,
anti-caking agents
yeah,
and all of this other stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
The
nuts.
preservatives. Oh, and then when they do fragrance in some stuff as well. That's where like the catch-all is for all of the worst chemicals that you can't put on the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. So if someone wanted to do like a more low tox skincare, what would be like kind of the staples to kind of look for?
Oh, look, that's a really, really difficult question to answer because everybody's skin type and skin concerns are going to be different. You're not necessarily going to be looking for the same ingredients if you are looking for anti-aging properties in your skincare versus acne prevention, or sensitive rosacea prone skin. You know, like every skin concern is going to benefit from a slightly different regime. Plus your diet and lifestyle is going to come into your skincare or your skin health. Um, you know, our skin has a microbiome just like our gut does. So it stands to reason if our gut microbiome is not healthy, neither is our skin microbiome. And in a lot of cases, the biggest conversation I have specifically with the sensitive rosacea prone skin types and the acne prone skin types is diet related and gut health related. And once they get those things boosted, the skin conditions clear up.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. Everyone
Mm.
talks about well, they're starting to talk about the gut brain connection, but then I feel
Mm.
like there's that extra caveat of the gut brain skin
Yeah.
connection. They're like skin's your biggest organ as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really important.
it is
Um,
definitely.
that's really cool. Um, I do recall we did talk about cleansers though. Can we talk about that? So, or sorry, it was more getting
Exfoliators.
exfoliators, right? I thought that was really interesting, your take on.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, personally, most of my clients that come in, and this is just through my experience here in clinic, is the ones that are coming in with the really sensitive skins, often over exfoliating, or the exfoliating compound, like that physical compound that does the scrubbing of the skin, is like as like a crushed nutshell or something like that. So it's not a perfectly spherical, smooth um, substance, and it's tearing at the skin and it's causing the sensitivity and the flare-ups in the skin. And in so many instances, in fact, I don't know that there's one where it hasn't worked. Removing that like exfoliation step of being a physical exfoliator or a mechanical exfoliator versus a chemical exfoliator. And let's not, when we're on the low tox conversation, let's not get chemicals and toxins confused.
Yeah.
Every substance on earth is a chemical. So we are going to be having chemicals in our skincare, in our food, like everything is a chemical compound of some description. So all of my clients that I said, look, let's just remove the mechanical exfoliator for a period of time and repair the skin barrier. So it's often a skin barrier imperfection or impairment that is causing the sensitivity or the acne flare-ups, that sort of thing. So let's remove that root cause
Mm-hmm.
and then heal and repair the skin before we start to refine it. So you can't just go from really flared up sensitive skin or acne prone skin, rosacea prone skin, and go straight for your refining ingredients like your really hectic salicylic acids and vitamin A's and your really, really heavy, high active ingredient routine without healing and repairing the skin first. You're just on a highway to nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Highway to more damage potentially as
Mm.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely I took out the physical scrubber and like you're saying, and it helps so much with like random dry patches that I had. And just
Mm.
so it's a really good way to approach it. And I like what you're saying about like let's not say everything's a chemical, everything is a chemical. Um, but then also I always think about like how everything is a chemical and we tend to extract everything from everything and then we mix it with other things. It's like that to me is the bigger problem. We're adding all these things together. And it's like you can't surely know what each is going to do as a reaction long term or anything like that. So I feel like your approach is always one chemical or one, formula if you can. So yeah. So you use hyaluronic
Yeah,
acid, is that
and
right?
look, yeah. So basically, as a general rule, if somebody comes in and says, I don't have an at-home skincare routine, first point of call is not, here's the Rolls Royce 6-step routine morning and night.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like telling somebody who has been sending their car off to the mechanic every 6 months for maintenance and servicing that they need to now start changing the oil in their car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's unrealistic. We all live busy lives which are quite full of overwhelm anyway. So let's just start with cleansing and moisturizing and a sunscreen during the day. Like, let's keep it basic. Let's let the skin repair. I mean, I always say, as I said earlier, I've just been on 9 days holiday. When I go on holiday, my skin goes on holiday. I take the bare minimum. There's none of the highly active ingredients and serums and stuff. I'm on holidays. I don't want to stand in the bathroom. Not that it takes that long, but I'm on holidays. Why can't my skin have a holiday for 10 days, 9 days? And I take a very basic cleanser. My hyaluronic acid collagen serum goes with me everywhere because especially when you're flying, airplanes are awful for drying out your skin. So my cleanser, my collagen serum, which is predominantly hyaluronic acid, super hydrating, basic moisturizer and a sunscreen. And that's me done.
That's
Like,
amazing. Yeah. I
yeah.
love that
And,
approach.
and it's consistency. You do that every day over a 6-step routine, 4 days a week, and sleeping with your makeup on a couple of nights a week, you're going to have better results from a 2 or 3-step routine than you are a 6 or 7-step routine if you're consistent with the basic one over inconsistent with the hectic one.
Yeah, for sure. Start smaller, but also, yeah. I love that approach that your skin goes on rest when you go on rest. And I don't know why we don't approach that more. If it's probably in a societal training again, right? Just keep going. But like your physical body needs to rest from exercise, that actually improves everything. Your mind needs to rest from things, that improves everything. So why wouldn't you rest your skin as well and let it heal and do its own thing instead of constantly being like berated with whatever you're doing? Yeah.
Absolutely. And often as women, we become quite attached. I like to refer to it being married to our skincare routine or married to our skincare products. And it might have been something that worked for you 12 months ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, but our skin changes. It only takes 90 days for every cell in our body to turn over. So it stands to reason that depending on what's going on in our life, food and lifestyle, how much sleep we're getting, all of the things, whether we're drinking, smoking, the water we're bathing in, whatever. There are so many things that impact our skin health. It stands to reason that what was perfect for our skin 12 months ago is not necessarily going to be perfect for our skin today.
Yeah. Makes sense. Even moving house, I've noticed, changes your
Yeah,
skin. It's
yeah.
different water, different
Different water.
different pipes or
The best
something.
thing I've done in recent times is put a water filter on the shower.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for my skin.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing.
Mm.
So when people come to your clinic, what are you adding to their skincare there?
Often we're taking away before we add anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to depend. Always a hyaluronic acid. I mean, a hyaluronic acid, it holds 1,000 times its own weight in water. So, and I
That's
think you've seen
fascinating.
the little skin
Yeah.
segment thing that I use in clinic to demonstrate. You know, the dermis of our skin is predominantly made up of hyaluronic acid. And the hyaluronic acid is where the collagen and elastin lives. And we want that really robust dermis to be able to be a healthy place for our collagen and elastin to produce high quality collagen and elastin, because we know the studies show that from our mid-20s our body's ability to produce collagen and elastin reduces year on year by a couple of percent. And then when, as women, we hit menopause, it can drop by as much as over 30% during that period of time we're going through menopause. So it's not untrue when some women say, I hit 50 or I hit 45 or I hit 55. And I woke up one morning and I felt like I just looked older. It's because we often can if we're not looking after our skin.
Yeah. So interesting. So your skin could even have like a big reaction and all of a sudden be so different. I never really thought about that. Um, so so the treatments you do in your clinic, what kind of things do they help with?
Everything from well, as we know, like the microcurrent.
Yeah,
I
that's
can speak
miraculous.
firsthand for how healing that is for the skin. So it helps to encourage skin cell turnover. So once again, as we age, the skin cells take longer to turn over. When we're younger, it's about a 28-day cycle of the skin cell. As we age, it can blow out to as much as 60 days.
Wow.
So having fresh, young, plump skin cells stands to reason your skin's going to look younger, plumper, and fresher. So it increases skin cell turnover, can help boost collagen elastin production, balance out sebum and oil production in the skin, to reduce the appearance of acne and the cause of acne. Yeah, so
For
lots of different
you,
things.
for what it did for you after your surgery, what do you
Mm.
feel like? So it moved your eyebrows and everything. So is that due to your muscles being
Yep. So the microcurrent treatment itself is like a workout for the face. There's 3 different phases to that particular treatment. And specifically, the first phase is working to encourage skin cell turnover, collagen elastin production. The second phase is literally retraining the muscles in the face. So realigning the resting length of the muscles. As we age, like the muscles through our cheeks and so forth, and along our jawline can stretch. Thanks very much, Mother Nature, aka gravity. So the pull, that constant pull down, can stretch out these muscles through our cheeks and jawline, and also through our forehead. So that's where your hooded eyelids can come in, and the jowly look. And then there's the other muscles that can tense up and therefore become shortened because of tension and stress. So those 11 lines between our eyebrows, they're often caused by tension, stress, and that constriction of the muscles. So it's just readjusting the resting length of the muscles, as well as getting them to function the way they're designed to function. It's like anything. If you don't exercise, your muscles don't work properly.
Yeah. And I don't feel like anyone knows another way to work out your muscles. That's really, really freaking interesting. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I have that same, like I tense my jaw. So luckily that doesn't cause lines. But do people actively, so between the eyebrows, do people actively scrunch the eyebrows to get the lines, or is that like a stress thing and they don't realize their face does that?
Look, it's a combination of things. Some people are just naturally more expressive in their
Yeah.
facial movements, and they're obviously, the more expressive you are, the higher the chance that you're going to have lines and wrinkles. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing that the microcurrent does in the third phase of the treatment helps with this is it helps to loosen up the fascia. So fascia is like, it's almost like a spider web that can connects the skin to the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that is all tight, the skin doesn't glide as well across the muscles. And so you're going to show more lines every time the muscles in the face move. So the microcurrent can help with that. I also do like facial massage treatments. So for people, the microcurrent is perfectly safe in 99% of cases. We don't practice it on pregnant women or those with epilepsy, just because I can't get insurance to be covered for pregnant women. The people that trained me, one of the women who trained me, she was continuing to treat herself the entirety of her pregnancy, and her baby is perfectly healthy and fine.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's not going to be harmful, but it's just not. I can't get insured for it.
That's fair. It's just an electrical current though, right? Like
Yeah,
we are made of that essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's why when you sometimes touch somebody or something and you get that electric shock, like we all have like current working through our body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just working with the body's natural energy and healing systems rather than, as I said earlier, some of the more invasive treatments are damaging the skin cells to get them to repair.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so like what would be examples of that?
Also, like laser skin resurfacing, IPL, RF treatments, so radio frequency treatments, they're a lot more intense. So they're actually damaging and putting heat or light into the skin.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing with a lot of those treatments, they can't be done on the darkest skin Fitzpatrick. So there's like this scale of skin tone, which goes from Fitzpatrick's 1 through to Fitzpatrick's 6. And the darkers, like from 4 to 6, can be quite risky to treat with those light-based therapies because you risk hyperpigmentation, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation.
Which would be lightning.
No, so that's so dark spots. So
Oh.
obviously you're not going to necessarily see the damage on where it's unsafe to do it on the really dark skins because it's going to burn because the light's actually attracted to the pigmented cells.
Okay. That's really interesting. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, like like skin spots too is like from the
Mm.
heat and that kind of same
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I never thought about that. Um, I love the rabbit holes you go down as a skincare specialist.
Yeah. Well, I had a client in just last 2 weeks ago who had gone for an IPL skin treatment, and the woman who did it got too close to her eyebrow, and because she has dark eyebrows, it actually burnt the eyebrow and the skin underneath the eyebrow
Oh gosh.
because the IPL is like impulse light.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so now she's terrified that her eyebrow's not going to grow back in that particular spot because they use IPL as a hair removal treatment.
Yeah, it's true. I think after one it would be okay, but if it happens more than once, then but yeah,
Yeah,
those are very like sensitive root spots
yeah.
for your eyebrow hair. Oh gosh.
Mm.
Hopefully should
So
be
it
okay.
burnt the skin and singed all the hairs off. So
Oh gosh. The stuff that happens sometimes, the skincare, like I had my eyebrows tattooed and that was an interesting process as well. I'm like, let's not go there. Um but yeah. What else do you do in your clinic? So you do the microcurrent.
yeah, so facial massaging, so lift and sculpt and like plumping facial massage, gua sha massage, cupping, facial cupping, so using nice little silicone cups to lift and plump. That's also a really great way to free up the fascia under the skin as well. LED light therapy, the SQT biomicro needling, which is these tiny little microscopic spears that are harvested from the freshwater sponge. There's this exoskeleton of freshwater sponge, and so that just gets massaged into the skin to open up microchannels in the skin, increases product absorbency by 3,000%, really good for expedited removing of hyperpigmentation or really acute acne. So unlike traditional needling where they're actually using physical needles and repunching the skin, you can't, or you shouldn't, microneedle traditionally over active acne because you're just going to spread the bacteria and create more harm. Because it's individual spicules going into the skin and they stay in the skin for up to 72 hours. You can go across active acne and clear up acute active acne really quickly. What else?
That's fascinating. Okay, wait. So if I have active acne, like some people break it. I'm just gonna call it breaking it.
Yeah.
Is that a bad choice or?
Look, picking at your acne is increasing your risk of scarring. But there's two different types of acne scarring. There's like the pitted scars and then there's raised scars. The pitted scars are more often a result of not enough collagen in the skin, which when there's a lot of inflammation in the skin, collagen production is going to be impaired. Or it could be the raised scars rather than the pitted scars is actually an overproduction of collagen.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
Are both of those reversible with proper treatment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the microcurrent facial rejuvenation will definitely soften the appearance of acne scarring, but also the SQT biomicroneedling has been seeing amazing results in acne scarring as well.
Yeah. Yeah, to me that makes sense because I don't know, evens it out and it's livening what needs to be livened and reducing what needs to be reduced. So interesting. I love that you do that. I'm so glad that you found this and like your journey is so interesting.
Oh, it's been a fascinating journey, and like I was terrible at school. Like school was not the place for me to learn, but I feel like I've become like this skin science geek since starting my business because I just love understanding why, how, what, when.
Yeah, exactly. And like when it lights you up, then you want to learn more about it. I feel like that's what school lacks. It's like do everything, don't do the thing that you want to do.
Yeah. You're not allowed to just go and do the art because that's not practical. But if you're going to be an artist, why do you need to know the geometry and trigonometry?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're really shit, I think Jimmy Carr says if you're really shit at physics, you're getting C's in physics. Like no one needs a mediocre physicist. Like focus on English where you're getting A's or whatever.
Yeah, it's so true. I think I shared it yesterday on my stories on my Instagram. There was this like somebody had posted an extract out of a letter that a school principal had sent home to parents, and it was basically saying to parents in a much more eloquent way, but basically saying, don't be a dick. If your child is an athlete, they're not necessarily going to excel in sciences and like all of the mathematics and this. Whereas if your child is an artist and really crafty and arty, and basically it was like, don't be a dick. Like if your child is not skilled at that, they're not going to perform and they're not going to love studying for it. Yeah. So just let them be a kid. They'll work out what brings them joy in life if you allow them to.
Yeah. And you can make money doing anything. But yeah, like the generations prior had this like massive fear, like you can't do that thing. That's not like the very profitable one. That's not going to give you the best life. Yeah.
Well, I went to a private all-girls school where,
cool.
Look, let's be honest, in my 20s and possibly even in my early 30s, would never have started a skin clinic because that's working in the beauty industry. And then that's where the dumb girls go.
Yeah, I do remember that rhetoric.
And it's like, well, yeah, okay, I'm not the biggest scholar going about, but I freaking love what I do. And I have some impact in improving the joy that my clients get in life. So that
Quality of life
beats,
you're improving, I
yeah,
think, is huge. Yeah.
yeah, and that beats selling them a piece of furniture any day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just being in office any day of the week and like giving yourself conditions that you have to heal from and, whatever.
Yeah, and you have to climb the ladder, and you have to go from being the sales rep and BDM to the sales manager. And like I was on that pathway and it wasn't bringing me joy.
mhm, yeah. Yeah, we kind of do it on autopilot. I feel like you get sometimes even now I'm realizing like if you get a promotion or something in this context, like that might not bring you joy to, be a boss or anything, be the, overseer. You might actually get more joy from being the doer that you've just been promoted out of. So sometimes do you want to be promoted? Like have a look at that, like
Mm.
how different everything will look. Yeah, I think that's something we never really thought of back in the 90s for sure.
Yeah.
You
Well, and
just
it was,
took it.
yeah. And I mean, I was really good at what I did selling furniture. And I did end up in management roles, which I didn't love. I just didn't love it. And I I look back now and one, I didn't love it, but two, I was completely in control of my own earning capacity because the better I was at my job, the more money I made. Whereas when I was managing a team, my earning capacity was reliant on their performance.
Mm,
And I'm
that's
like,
awful. I would
yeah,
hate that. It'd
this
be so out of control.
so this has got knobs on it. Like I'm better off. Like I was earning more as a sales rep than I was as a manager.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. No one thinks about that. Um, I have a random thought. Were there like, as you were on, like you've been on multiple healing journeys now, then were there like any moments that you thought well, it sounded like you did, you doubted you could overcome it? Like what helped you keep going in those moments?
Um, I think like so the worst it ever got was like in those very early stages after the Hashimoto's flared up that first time. And once I sort of got over that moment, like I just for however, for whyever, like I just knew that there was something going wrong in my body. And like I'd gone off the alcohol, I'd cut gluten and dairy, and I was like eating all of the good foods and buying organic and like just next leveling my health on every level. And I just once when I got that enough clear headedness, it was just coming back to that and going, okay, so what's next? Where can I next level it? And as I said, like I did need to be medicated to get back on an even keel
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't okay. And I did need to have that experience where I ended up bedridden because of the medication to go, this isn't how I want to live my life. Like when I was diagnosed last year with the endometriosis, the doctor did my bloods at the same time because I get my bloods tested every year without fail to make sure that my thyroid is still functioning the way it should be functioning off the medication. And she's reached for her script pad and she's like, oh, your cholesterol's a bit high. I'm like, yeah, that's good. And she's like, okay, so I'm just going to write your script. I'm like, no, you're not, because you're wasting your paper. I'm not going to fill a script. And she was like, and I'm like, you can give it to me, but it's going to be a waste. And she's like, but why? And I'm like, well, you've just told me I've got endometriosis. That's where the pain's coming from. I am going to put some things in place. Like I'd kind of let dairy and gluten creep into my life a little bit. I was drinking too much. I was doing things that could be better, like I'm doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And there were some things I should have been doing better. So I said, look, give me 12 months. If I haven't got it under control, next time I come back to get my bloods done again, then we'll have the conversation. I saw my naturopath 4 days later, and the naturopath goes, oh, so what did your GP say about your bloods? And I'm like, well, she wanted to give me a script for statins because my cholesterol's high. She's looked at it and she's like, it's 0.5 high. And I'm like, don't worry, I told her not to waste her paper. And then she goes, what about your vitamin D and your vitamin B12 levels. Like, what did she say about those? And I said, she didn't mention them. She's like, well, they're actually a little bit on the low side for what I would consider normal. And when those are low, it often goes hand in hand with a flare up in endo symptoms. And so within 2 weeks of seeing my naturopath and making some adjustments to my diet and lifestyle and adding some supplementation in, the pain was gone.
Wow. Yeah. So different when you zoom out and you look at the whole picture. No.
Yeah. And, a doctor doesn't, like, when they look at those, the levels, like what your blood levels should be like for everything, be it iron, vitamins, minerals, what have you, they're looking at a really broad range that encapsulates the entire population. They're not looking at a range that is specific to particular health conditions.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I have another direction I want to go with questions now, if that's all right with you. Just a little bit. I wanted to dig into this more through the podcast too, of you're growing your business, you've been doing this for a long time, you're actually going up against kind of like the norm. So I feel like that's challenging in itself. I like to, or I've been thinking a lot about like what kind of things does your kind of inner mean girl tell you? Like, do you have those days that there's like an inner dialogue that isn't on board for what you're doing? Because I want to bring that to the forefront, if that makes sense. Like I have days where I'm like, this is what my brain is telling me, and I have a challenge to just overcome that inner dialogue and then do all the other things, put your business processes and turn, like see clients, do all of that. Do you kind of have an inner dialogue?
Yes, it's the bitch isn't as noisy as she used to be.
Thankfully.
And like I do have 3 salon house rules, and they are: leave your inner mean girl at the door.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally walked 2 clients that I can think of off the top of my head back to the front door and told them to leave the bitch outside.
Oh gosh. Were they
Because they've
letting it
been
out to you?
No, they're just sitting here telling me how awful they look, and their inner mean girl is being an absolute mole. And I'm like, the rules are here for a reason. Rule number 1 is leave your inner mean girl at the door. The second one is show yourself some compassion and practice mindfulness. When you hear her starting up and arcing up, just acknowledge that she's there. Say, thanks for coming in today, but you're not helping.
Mm-hmm. You're not right.
And be mindful that, like, we are all beautiful in our own way. We all have something to offer the world. Every single one of us has something beautiful and positive to offer the world.
Yeah, that's stunning. I love that you think about all of that with your whole client experience.
Well, it upsets me when they're in here fully bitching out on themselves. And it's like, but you're beautiful. What I don't see what you're seeing. Like, your inner mean girl has got this warped vision going on.
Yeah. Again, that's conditioning that we have. And even the like letting it out to someone else, that I feel like we egg each other on, or we had in the past egged each other on. Like, oh yeah, mine's horrible too, and this and that. And like it's just a normal way to communicate, but it shouldn't be. Should be able to, you should actually stop yourself and be like, so in the past maybe I thought that, but let's change that.
Yeah. And look, social media doesn't help.
Yeah.
As we discussed earlier, there's an injectables clinic on every corner in most cities of the world these days, or especially, Western cities. And, I've even caught myself watching television and being like, oh, she needs some work, because I'm so used to seeing on television women that have had so much work done.
Yeah, in
That
contrast.
it's not normal to see somebody who has a face that functions the way nature intended it to.
Yeah. And if you zoom out of that, if you look around, like in reality, like you're saying, like everyone's so different looking and so beautiful looking in their own way. And
Mm,
but yeah, we keep putting this like laser focus back on it has to look like that one girl that, we've been told we have to look like.
yeah,
It's insanity.
yeah. Well, I listened to a podcast where Megan Fox was being interviewed a few weeks back, and like she's been spouted as the most beautiful woman alive.
Mm-hmm.
She's had work done, and she spoke, her inner mean girl was arcing up in the podcast all these years later, like
What was it
everyone has
saying?
one.
Yeah.
Everyone has an inner mean girl. And, sadly, her her being in the media, and she's the target for bullies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then you just
Mm.
add it adds on to the inner mean girl, like, oh, they think it too, must be true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. That's
Mm.
awful.
Yeah.
I wanted to do an episode on it. It's like if you're a very visual person, it's like you just nitpick it away, right? You just um like, oh, that's not even, and oh, that's like weird. And if I see myself in a photo from the side, that's not perfect. So now I have to fix that. And then you go like in this spiral. It's what I used to do as well.
Mm.
Because visual, like if you're I definitely have been learning this, your visual kinesthetic, or it's kind of like a main thing. When you're very visual, you're like, I don't have that perfect look, and you're just I definitely think it adds to that nitpicking, and my hair's
Mm.
not long enough here, or I'm not that shape that I think I should be, but you're a beautiful shape yourself. You're just not the one that you've just picked as the goal. um
Yeah, and that's it. And, as I mentioned before, filters and airbrushing and all of the apps where you can
yeah,
adjust. I mean,
you can
I've
adjust
been,
shapes. Yeah, it's horrible. Like
yeah,
even
I
just
mean,
like
I've
one
been to
click.
networking events here in Perth and met women that I've been following on social media for months, if not a few years. And I'm like, you don't look like all of your pictures online. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
you really? Like, and that breaks my heart. Like the fact that they feel like they have to alter themselves to be able to show up online, it just, it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart.
Yeah, I agree as well. I want to come at it from a loving place as well. Like we're just so mean to ourselves. Why are we doing that? And like let's not
Mhm.
add to the conversation. Let's not make people feel shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Because they're like, as we said, everybody's beautiful in their own right. And it also makes me sad that you see these groups of young women and they all look the same because they've all had the same like fillers and that they've had the adjustments done, and they all look like each other, and I'm like, but now you just look like each other. There's nothing unique and beautiful. Like your unique beauty is no longer present because you've had the alterations done, so you look like everybody else that's had Botox and fillers.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I can definitely see where the pressure comes from. Like watching like Sunset, the Selling Sunset one, or anything like that. They all look the same, but they're beautiful. But I'm like, I can see where the pressure comes from. It's like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? Like, oh my God, my nose is like a millimeter different than her nose. Oh my God, I look horrible.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I definitely would cave. And I think that's, yeah, a big nod to just like, who are you surrounding yourself with? And like, if that is what you want, though, like, it doesn't also matter. But I don't know. I would love to see their inner beauty as well on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it makes me sad. Like I don't I don't like to judge, and I honestly hope that I don't come across as if I am judging when I talk about it. I just, it makes me sad to think that they don't love themselves enough. Like they weren't happy enough with what nature gave them, that
Yeah.
they need to go and do those things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we all battle that every day, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
I just want them to win more more battles. I don't know. I've definitely been there where I was like, I need to change everything about everything. And then you're just horribly miserable in bed all the time, being like, I don't look like that person. Why would I go out? Um, yeah, that's a big conversation, definitely.
Mm.
I definitely
And
don't
it
want
is
to
who
do it
you
to me.
surround yourself with, for sure. Like,
Yeah. It holds up
I
a
mean,
mirror to you.
yeah, and like I know my husband has said to me in the past, like I would like to be a couple of kilos lighter than what I am now. Don't want to lose a huge amount of weight, but I probably not even want to lose much weight. It's more I want to be a little bit active, a little bit more active and a bit fitter. Um, and I know when I have been super skinny in the past, I mean, my husband, it's not that he goes off me, but he's nowhere near as handsy. Like his love language is touch. He's nowhere near as handsy when I'm skinny. And at times over the years, that's been a bit of a joke when he's getting too handsy. And I'm like, careful, buddy. Otherwise, this bitch is going to get skinny. Just back off.
Oh, I love that. That's so reversed from what people think, like, is the expectation.
Yeah. And he's like, no, like the first time I said it to him was hilarious. The look of absolute distress on his face. He looked at me and he's like, that's probably the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're classic, but you're not listening. I just need some space. I need you to leave me alone for 5 minutes. I know that that's your way of telling me you love me, but I'm not feeling it right now. Just back off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. But then, yeah, you get to explore being whatever shape you want to be. I think that gives you that freedom. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas, like, you put your pressure, like, if he didn't tell you that too, wouldn't you, like, perhaps put that pressure on yourself to be like, I need to be skinny so that someone loves me? I feel like that's our old cycles. And then he's actually hoping for the opposite, but like, no one's voiced it. So you're like stuck in that
Yeah.
limbo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So interesting.
Communication is key.
Yeah, it is. Amazing. Um, I just like to finish off with one question and just like reflecting on our conversation today. You've given a lot of like amazing info and advice, but I would just wonder if you have like one message or one piece of advice you'd like to leave listeners with.
Oh, gosh, so
It's
many.
too many.
The number one thing, have a look in the mirror, like really, 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 really look in the mirror and look at yourself in the eyes and actually tell yourself that you love yourself, and have speak to yourself like you would speak to somebody who you love. And when you hear that inner mean girl arcing up, have that mindfulness to go, hang on a second. If this was coming out of my mouth to my mum, my sister, my best friend, my daughter, hang on a second, it wouldn't fucking come out my mouth because I'm not a bitch. Like, we actually wouldn't say the things we say to ourselves to anybody else.
Yeah, I agree. So good. Thanks for saying that. Um, there's a lot of power to like looking yourself in the eye in the mirror as well. And it's funny, that's been brought to my attention. You just don't do it until like someone tells you one day. So please look yourself in the eye. Such good advice.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It like brings you so grounding into yourself, even though it's kind of an external thing, grounds you so much into yourself and your own power.
And the first few times it can be very confronting.
Yeah, definitely some crying.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, be kind to yourselves, everyone listening.
Mm.
Um, thank you for being here. I would love to just ask as well, where can our listeners find you online?
So my beautiful shiny new website will be up very soon.
Yep.
So glowyounger.com.au. And that's GLO younger. So drop the W. And then glow_younger on Instagram is where I hang out most on the socials. Yeah.
And you talk about some impactful stuff on your socials. I love it. Um, yeah, amazing. And your website will be up soon from Launchpad. Just plug that in there. We
Yes,
got this.
yes. I'm so excited. I'm about to quickly jump off and have a look at a little sneak peek.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's coming still. Yeah, we didn't realize you were away. Um, I like offline. So amazing. It's been really fun having you here. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think that's like there's so many good tidbits in that message, all your messages. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for letting me share your soapbox.
Oh, yeah, anytime. We can do this. Okay, have a good one.
Bye, darling.
Thank you so much for listening. I do hope you enjoyed that. We are exploring our comfort zones and our edges with every episode, every guest, and every episode I do by myself. If you have enjoyed this, please follow us on Spotify, leave a 5-star review or a review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to us. We get to grow and have more informative guests and more provocative guests if that's what you want. I am so down to see where this grows. In the meantime, follow me on Instagram at amanda.petra__, and I would love to chat with you in the DMs. What hit home, what didn't, what came to mind. It would be really cool. So I will see you there. And thank you so much. See you in the next episode. Although our podcast presenters and all guests strive to deliver accurate information, they cannot address your unique circumstances comprehensively. Therefore, the content shared by any speaker on this platform is not personalized advice for individuals and should not substitute professional medical or health guidance. It is crucial to consult a qualified medical professional or for personalized advice. Additionally, always seek guidance from a healthcare provider before making decisions regarding your health or that of your family. Furthermore, it's essential to recognize that what works for one person may not work for another, emphasizing individual responsibility for health decisions as promoted on our show.